All right, welcome to Wednesday's class. My goal today will be to sort of summarize, encapsulate the subject matter for this topic, which is basically an introduction for you to the types of computer crime and just a few scenarios that illustrate the ways that technology can tie in to the whole world of criminology. Well, let's harken back to the last class period where we talked about the Bentonville, Arkansas murder and the tie-in with the Amazon Echo device. That's sort of a landmark case in terms of technology because of the issue that came to bear with Amazon.com, pushing back. I think we can agree that computers and cell phones are pretty regularly scooped up in warranted searches. And we've heard about forensic specialists, forensic scientists recovering data from computer hard drives, USB sticks, even PDAs and iPods. So use the chat if you would. I'd like you to make any suggestions. What do you think set the Amazon Echo apart in this 2016 scenario from these other devices which seem to be readily recovered and taken to the crime lab and investigated? So again, I just typed the question into the comment box, and you can use chat. It's down in the center of your Zoom screen. So what do you think set that Amazon Echo apart from other electronic devices with storage that get recovered at crime scenes? Any ideas? Well, I'll tell you a little bit of right, the fact that it may have recorded audio, and to extend that thought, it may have recorded audio unbeknownst to the speaker. The last time I taught this course is maybe a little bit humorous. I mentioned the word Alexa, and it actually woke up one of my students' Amazon devices in their home. So the always on feature of these devices with some trigger word can accidentally wake up the device and record through that false positive. Yeah, Tariq says, I think with the Echo, you cannot control what it records, but with phones, yes, the user has a bit more control. The user, I mean, you overtly make a phone call, or you overtly open up a web page in your Chrome or Firefox browser and visit a website. Really, the act of actually using that device, whether it's a computer, desktop, or a computer that you can hold in your hand, you're doing something directly, positively interacting with the device. And if you read the teeny tiny fine print in most of these applications, you'll find out that by using this service or by using this application, you consent. So with cell phones or computers, it seems that the data exchange is understood, and if not well understood, at least some form of consent is given. So let's review in our minds some of the ways that identity theft occurs. So we had a discussion a couple classes ago that indicated that ID theft was probably the largest category of computer crimes occurring in the recent history. And there are basically 4 avenues or ways that identity theft can be perpetrated. And probably the one that would come to mind first is phishing. Okay, so phishing, spelled P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G, sort of a take off on our common English word fish, which really is to cast a wide net and see what you can bring in. So phishing is an activity that is based on social engineering. And social engineering has nothing to do with high technology. It's the old time, long historically proven activity of the scam. Okay, so phishing, which we usually associate with emails, but it can be snail mail, can be voice messages, can be text messages, and they have some related terminologies: vishing for voicemail phishing and smishing for SMS or text messages. Is basically a tactic that attempts to draw the potential victim in through some kind of a lure. And that lure is usually built on top of some emotional spark within the target person. Some of the things that phishers use are just the general humanity sense of wanting to help others. So during times of disaster, tsunami, earthquakes, floods, there are an uptick in phishing campaigns, which portray themselves as some kind of aid organization, which is going to help the downtrodden, uplift through contributions or some other type of aid. So that sense of wanting to help is one way that phishing occurs. Also, human beings tend to have this innate built-in inner desire to, get something for nothing, or to get something at a great deal. So that is another tactic that is used by phishers to get you in early on some kind of concert ticket, or a chance to win a grand prize of some sort. Phishing also uses the human being's desire to keep their good name. So threats are another tactic that is used by phishers. It's to wrap the message in, you better do something right now, or something not good is going to happen. You need to click here right away to clear your name, or to make sure that you are not billed improperly for a purchase that you did not make. One popular phish that has been going around very recently is a message that portrays itself to come from Amazon, and it's for the purchase of some quite expensive electronic device that sort of a quirky device in many cases, that the most users would go, I don't even know what this is. I didn't buy it. And it's hundreds of dollars, and I certainly don't want to have my credit card charged for that amount. And they are incentivized to, click the given link to try to reverse the charges, or to speak with someone in customer service, or some other action to clear their financial obligations. So I think you have a good idea of all the different ways that phishing can masquerade itself as something that might be legitimate. It borders on legitimacy, but of course there are telltale signs that the lure is inappropriate or fake. And some of those signs include, awkward grammar and spelling, from an email account that looks similar to something that you're familiar with, but has perhaps just a really minor misspelling. Or instead of a .com, it's from, a .il, or some other extension that's in some, small, otherwise very little known foreign country that sold their extension, for, probably about as much money as their gross national product. And a lot of times you can hover over the hyperlink that's in the email, and you can see down at the lower portion of the email message that the actual web address that you'll be redirected to has nothing to do with what was portrayed in the text of the email message. That's usually a telltale sign that something not right is going on. So always the best action, if someone's portraying Amazon, is to go directly to Amazon's corporate website and go to your account and take action that way. If it's your bank that's being portrayed, to actually go to the URL for whether it's Truist or Citibank or Fidelity, whatever, go to the main web address for the entity and work those channels. Or if it's a credit card related issue, turn your card over and call the customer service 800 number on your actual card. So that was phishing. A second way that ID theft is perpetrated is through spyware or some other illicit software that is put onto a device. So spyware is really any kind of software that can monitor activity on your computer or phone, logs activity, sometimes then sends that activity up to some command and control computer that then can use that data for ill. Some spyware is characterized as adware, which is really not illegal per se, but it's using the end user's habits in order to orchestrate sales pitches to the end user. Spyware takes that concept and sort of catapults it into the realm of illegality when that personal information is then repackaged and sold to others that will be using it for financial gain. The third category of ways that identity theft can occur is unauthorized access to systems. And one example of that is the Target data breach that occurred around 2013. It actually began through a third-party heating, ventilation, and air conditioning vendor of Target, who was spoofed through phishing, and the crime group was able to then access that HVAC vendor. They then pivoted around in the vendor's computer systems until they found a portal, a vendor portal that gave access to Target. In the end, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of customer personal information was exfiltrated, taken out of the system, and then of course as people's data was compromised. The fourth category of identity theft channeling is the tried and true, very old, very low tech method of dumpster diving, where otherwise strewn about information, some thrown away, but some perhaps just laying on a desk somewhere, is taken, and they just read information off of old phone bills or some other bank statement that was not shredded but just thrown into the trash. So it is very important to properly dispose of any information that well, that contains any kind of personally identifiable information. And then when we talk about identity theft, we sort of bleed into another category of criminal activity, stalking, or in particular, cyber stalking, if we're talking about a technology tie-in. So what kind of things are related to cyber stalking? Well, all of the things that would relate to, like we call the physical world of stalking, also relate to cyber stalking. So following a person from place to place, popping up unexpectedly in social locations or even work locations, and having that ability sort of turbocharged by being able to either track somebody's cell phone or looking at social media accounts to try to, predict where an individual's going to be going next, is one of the things that relates to cyber stalking. Leaving strange or unwanted phone messages is a thing that relates to cyber stalking. Persistent texts or emails that are unwanted or even threatening or just weird, scary, relate to cyber stalking. So you can think of a lot of different things that are part of the physical stalking world that are just, bumped up in intensity through using technology means. And this will bring us to a part of the discussion about, well, what is it about really any kind of crime, whether it's stalking or any other kind of threatening behavior, that rises it to a level that one might get an actual conviction out of it. And there are 4 basic characteristics that must be in play together in order to build a solid case for conviction. And that is 1, credibility. So the threat or the actions that are taking place need to have some element of realism. So if somebody's in a bar and they just are, had one too many, and they start popping off at the mouth about how they're going to come and, beat you up, that's probably not all that credible. But if that action is described in calm and in great detail, and methods are brought to the table, well, now that level of credibility becomes a lot more possible. So we add to that credibility the second element, which is frequency. So one single act or misspeak could not be considered a convictable offense. But if there's a pattern that starts to develop where we're getting multiple emails or multiple text messages, and the threat, the descriptions of the actions that the perpetrator claims to impress upon the victim sound really plausible and real. Well, there's two elements. And now we add a third, specificity. So if there's this element of forethought and planning, and again, very specific steps that might be taken to carry out this illicit action, then you have built a stronger case to build a conviction. And the fourth and final is intensity. So is there detail in the threat? Is there a real element of malice that is associated with the action that the perpetrator claims to be planning? So we'll go credibility, frequency, specificity, and intensity are the four basic elements or characteristics as part of stalking or threatening behavior that can lead to conviction. So at this point in time, I want to try to share some information from a company called KnowBe4. I may have mentioned them. I'll likely mention them again. They are a company that markets and sells training and some protective software all around the security awareness arena. So, I think I'm going to have to unshare a minute here if I can figure out how to do that, so that I can make sure that when I share my sound.
Imagine this. Your organization has been struggling to maintain a sense of normalcy during a raging global pandemic. It's late Friday afternoon.
We'll just make sure we start that again.
Imagine this. Your organization has been struggling to maintain a sense of normalcy during a raging global pandemic. It's late Friday afternoon, and an email entitled COVID-19 Layoffs has shown up in every employee's inbox. One recipient opened the message and clicked on a link. Within seconds, the name, date of birth, national identification number, and bank account number of every employee hired within the past decade was exposed. Now the organization will have to spend significant financial resources to remedy this error and rebuild trust with its employees. Some organizations can recover from events like this. Some simply go out of business. What if you were the unlucky employee that opened that email and clicked on the link? The scenario you just heard about is based on something that actually happened. Cybercrime is big business and a growing global concern. As an employee, you are a target. Hackers want to trick you into harming your organization. What's more, falling for a cybercrime can damage you personally. At the end of this module, you will be aware that every employee is a target, and cybercrime is more common than you think. Understand the active role you play in keeping your organization and yourself safe from cybercrime. Be familiar with the current types of attacks so you can spot them and not fall for them. You will encounter many new technical terms. It is crucial that you become familiar with them. If at any point there is a term you don't understand, you can pause the video and access the glossary in this module's menu. At the end of the module, you will take a brief quiz. Let's get started with a brief unscored exercise.
All right, so we'll just go through this together. We see that cybercrime is a big business and has been a growing global concern over the last, especially over the last 3 years with lockdowns and more people using computers, but really over the last decade has been growing every year. So we're going to review the scenarios and hopefully we'll do more than guess if each scenario actually happened, and if so, if it made the news. Okay, so a global social media platform's employees were tricked into thinking a hacker was a coworker and gave him access to all the accounts. The criminal used the theme of partnering with a made-up COVID-19 nonprofit to scam people out of $117,000. Well, had you heard about it? I hadn't, so we'll try that. Again, we'll find out if we're right or not. A manager at a major university in Australia accidentally entered his username and password into a link that was sent to him via email. This allowed the criminals to capture the login information and gave the hackers access to all the systems. I think I heard about this. And employees of the largest ISP in Argentina were tricked into installing a program that locked their computers. That's having a bad day. And it was ransomware. Well, we'll try that. So let's find out. All right. All of these incidents happened and all of them made the news. So we find that the University of Maryland found that there's an average of 2,244 cyber attacks every single day. One of the big players at IBM visited our campus to give a little talk about, I don't know, 8 or 9 months ago, and mentioned that the IBM.com URL web address is probably pinged about every 5 seconds, presumably from those who wish to do them harm. You can read some of these others. The International Criminal Police Organization, called Interpol, reported that small and medium-sized businesses are being targeted at an increased rate. So it's not just big companies. And the US FTC has seen over 128,000 phone-based fraud scams.
We often assume cybercrime only happens to someone else. Maybe we feel we just aren't important enough to be targeted. Or perhaps we believe the defenses IT has in place fully protect us. The reality of the situation is that it just isn't true. This module will introduce you to multiple strategies and attack types the cybercriminals use. Understanding these will help you identify the risks whenever you're asked to take an action. You will also receive guidance on how you can respond to these threats. Remember, these attacks happen way more than you think, so you need to stay alert and skeptical. Let's get started.
So we're going to see that cyber criminals use basically one of 4 strategies. So we're going to try to take a look at these and understand what they are and give you some tools to help you be a smart defender.
Social engineering is the art of manipulating, influencing, or deceiving you into taking some action that isn't in your own best interest or in the best interest of your organization. The goal of social engineers is to obtain your trust, then exploit that relationship to coax you into either divulging sensitive information about yourself or your organization, or giving them access to your network. Malware stands for malicious software, an umbrella term for all the software out there that is being used by cybercriminals to spy on you and steal your information. Once your computer becomes infected, some malicious apps can log all of your keystrokes, including your username and password. Some apps take over your computer and can even allow the hacker to turn on your webcam and spy on you or listen to your conversations. Malware attacks often result in data breaches, where a bad actor breaks into an organization's network without their knowledge or consent. They steal data or information, which is then typically sold to other bad actors for a profit.
So you see, these are basically the 4 strategies or the 4 primary ways that I previously discussed about.
Disinformation is false information intentionally created to deceive and mislead. Although this strategy is not a new one, it has become more common due to the reach of social media and the ease with which information can be spread via these networks. You and your organization can suffer financial or reputational damage as a result of a successful disinformation campaign. An example of this comes from the COVID-19 pandemic. Cell phone towers across the United States and Europe were targeted and destroyed after a disinformation campaign indicated that newer 5G cell phone towers were responsible for creating and spreading the virus. Government agencies around the world had to send out security alerts disproving this theory. One of the best ways to fight the spread of disinformation is to verify information's truthfulness. Stop and fact-check before acting upon or sharing information.
And then the 4th strategy.
Pretexting creates a fictional scenario where the bad actor pretends they are someone else to gain your trust and get information from you. It can happen in person, on a phone call, through text, or email. For example, you get a call from someone saying they're from IT and work with Sam, who is someone you know. They say they need your username and password to verify a system update. Pretexting scenarios can be very convincing, and these types of attacks are on the rise. It's important to never give information over the phone, in person, or online, unless you have confirmed the identity of the person who is asking.
So these 4 strategies were basically those used by cyber criminals in general to perpetrate all kinds of different cyber crimes, whether that's stealing personally identifiable information, getting passwords and usernames that then they can resell for money. The dark web is rife with various vendors, you might say, of credit cards that were numbers that were stolen. So again, the strategies were social engineering, the one we just heard about, pretexting, malware, including spyware, and the misinformation campaigns, which with all the various websites and portals that are available now on the internet, it's just not a surprise that not every source is really a source of truth. And that's why it's important to, again, they say fact check, or just use a variety of different sources, compare those, and really try to dig down deep to fact-based or chart-based, data-based information, and not somebody's opinion overlaid on top of that data.
The methods used by cybercriminals to hack your device and break into your organization's network are referred to as the threat landscape. Today's threat landscape is extensive and getting bigger every day. Whatever device you are using, in the office or working remotely, hackers might be trying to use one of the following types of attacks on you. Knowing what they are helps ensure you don't let criminals in. As you learn more, you will be given brief knowledge checks along the way.
All right, so we talked about 4 strategies. Now let's take a look at various attack methods.
Phishing is the most common digital attack. Phishing is the process in which scammers try to trick you into giving out sensitive information or taking a potentially dangerous action, like clicking on a link or downloading an infected attachment. They do this using email disguised as contacts or organizations you trust, so that you react without thinking first. For example, you receive an email that looks like it's coming from your IT department telling you that there's a problem with your email account and you need to reset your password. You are asked to click the link in the email. The link takes you to a password reset page with a password field, which is what the scammer is after. Once you enter your password, you've given entry into your account. The scammer now has access to your computer and can tunnel into your organization's network. The most effective way you can combat a phishing attempt is to be suspicious of all emails you receive containing links or attachments, especially messages that are unexpected. Spear phishing is a small, focused attack via email on a particular person or organization. The goal is to penetrate your organization's defenses. In this attack, the criminals invest time researching a specific target using social media and other open sources of information. Armed with this information, they send you a personalized message designed to trick you into taking an action that will put your organization at risk. Spear phishing attacks can be convincing, but just like in any phishing attack, you must take an action for it to be effective. One very common form of spear phishing targets top management, typically people who interact with your organization's CEO. A hacker impersonates your CEO and emails you with instructions to do something that could harm the organization. This tactic is called CEO fraud and is growing in popularity. It can even happen via phone with a fake voice message.
And the third attack method.
Smishing stands for Short Message Service SMS phishing, or phishing that occurs through text messaging. For example, they send a text message asking you to call a number or click on a link. The message could look like it's from your bank and may even contain most or all of your account number, data usually obtained illegally by hackers. Even if the message you are reading contains your password or your account number, it can still be fraudulent.
Okay, so we're going to look at some examples of phishing attacks and review them and see if we can determine which one represents an actual phishing attack. So we have a message from Claudia Ortiz, the CEO, talking about a board meeting. There's a date. Dear James, during my upcoming conference call with the board, I will need to showcase the progress we are making towards our annual financial goals. will you put together some visual aids I can use? Well, this particular message looks like it could be legit. It's not asking us to click any links. It's merely asking us to provide some visual aids. So I wouldn't be terribly alarmed. Let's take a look at 2. So from your hometown bank, okay, right there, bing, bing, bing. Don't mention the name. Dear James, due to suspicious at recent activity, what did we talk about earlier? People's sense of alarm about having their name or reputation assaulted. So your account has been disabled. Okay, you're in a secure location. Please download the attachment. Bing, bing, bing. Second alarm bell goes off. Here's some file that I was not expecting, and I'm being asked to download this to my personal computer. And yes, it says it's scanned and cleaned by what? Some vague antivirus. I'm suspicious. I'm going to put that on the suspicious column. And number 3, a text message. James, invest in yourself, earn a degree at home in under 6 months. Visit us for more details. Well, you know, it's a text message, and it looks a little squirrely, but it doesn't even look like there's a hyperlink here. So, you know, I don't believe it, and it's from unknown. So that one is also, I think, suspicion, but it's asking us to select the one. So I'm going to select option 2. Okay. So we are almost at the top of the hour. And I do want to, well, fine, here we go. Look at our Moodle page so that we can be reminded about this unit. Okay, so there are lectures from the previous class periods. There are some assignments that were due last week and the week before. So if you have not completed those, I urge you to get on them right away. We have the Bentonville murder case examination that is due this coming Sunday, as well as the test for chapter 1 due Sunday, the January 30th. You don't have that questionnaire, you have the test. So make sure that you review your notes, review any of the past lectures, and complete the test, because once the test closes, it closes. All right, and you don't want to miss it because you want to get, you know, a grade in the grade book. So any questions that you have at this point in time, you can either type in the chat or turn off your mic and ask the question. Otherwise, we will conclude for today. Don't forget your assignments. Don't forget the test. Thank you.